Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Radio Toni and Toni TV. Today's show is called Spotlight on the Author, and for all of you listening live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitch, we'll be talking to the amazing author David Wittaker. Now, for all of you who missed the live show, don't forget to catch up on Binge TV Networks USA or on all Roku, LG, and Samsung smart TVs across the world. Just type in Toni TV and you will find this interview. Now, our guest today is an amazing author by the name of David Wittaker, and David likes to write fiction, horror, drama, action, and fantasy books. His latest book is why we're here today, and it's called The Man Who Hated Halloween. The artwork for the book is provided by Edwin, who also does work for David on his music projects, which we'll ask about in a little while. David's favourite quote is "Never give up." Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We love talking to people who are from across the planet, and so I'm in Australia today and David is in the US, and we're having a wonderful chat about what David does for a living outside of his writing books and music. But before we get into that, I thought today we'd start with you and your story, if that's okay. Are you happy to share with the audience a little bit about your life and growing up and how you become a published author, David?
Yeah, sure. I was born in Chicago, Illinois. We moved to the south suburbs when I was a baby. I don't know exactly when I started my love for the arts, but I used to draw first. I used to draw all the time, and eventually my drawing kind of turned into stories. And then I started putting like the little bubble in the comics and having, my characters talk. And eventually, as I got older, I started moving more towards the writing, and I would have less and less pictures in each book, to the point now most of the stories I write don't have any pictures, and I try to get somebody else to draw for me.
Fair enough. Did you keep any of those early writings? Did your parents keep any of those?
I kept some of them.
Oh, that's awesome. We rarely hear about that journey when we talk to authors about how it started, and it appears that your imagination started on the writing path from very young. That's a wonderful story to tell people, that even from a very young age they can start to think about their creative passions. Now, for you it was writing, but you're also into music, yes?
Yes, I've been into music forever. I grew up with my mom singing and playing records. When I was little, I used to record like my own songs and play around with it. And then when I got a little bit older, I used to record myself. This is before YouTube and the internet. Now everybody does it, but I used to record myself singing other people's songs.
Oh, wow. David, did you do any like talent competitions, or you just did it at home and for the family at that early stage?
Yeah, I when I was really, really young, I did do we had a talent show at my daycare, and I performed Michael Jackson, Billie Jean.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty impressive song to start with. Well done.
Thanks.
So in your writing, you like fantasy, action, horror. What about music? What's your genre for music?
I usually do hip hop music, and I usually talk about things that have happened in my life. It's gonna sound really silly now, but one of the first songs I remember writing, I was talking about the pretty girl on my bus, because that's how young I was at the time. I was in junior high, so
that's the best.
Gotten a little bit more it's gotten a little bit more serious as you grow as an adult,
Yes.
different obstacles and different things that happen. I put that in the music. Recently, a
Yeah.
lot of songs I've been writing have been more about things going on in the world, United States and
Yeah.
abroad, and things going on, trying to raise awareness and make sure people know to count their blessings. And hey, it could be like
Yes.
this or that. You never know. Just be happy for what you have.
Yeah. David, let's digress just a little bit. I want to come back to the book soon, but I really enjoy the conversations around what it's like to be a gorgeous black man living in America at the moment. Because living in Australia, obviously, I'm a white girl. I don't know what it's like to be a beautiful black African American man or woman for that matter. And we see some of the stuff that's happening in America, and I talk to a lot of Americans a lot of the time, but I want to know what your experience is. How does it feel for you, and how has it been growing up in Chicago? Because I see the horrible brutality from police, I see the persecution, and I would dearly love someone to say, well, it's getting better, but I'm not sure that it is. What are your thoughts, David?
That's an excellent question. I'm not sure if it is getting better. I guess time
Yeah.
will tell, really. I've experienced few racist
Yes.
moments in my
Yes.
lifetime, but it's weird because I don't even know when you really realize that kind of
It's
thing can
wrong?
happen. Yeah, well, you realize it's wrong. I think you're told by your parents, and you learn about things in the past that
Yeah.
happened in the history in
Yeah.
America about Martin Luther King and marches.
Yes.
But as far as that happening to you, I don't even know when you kind of expect it to happen. Like, I don't know when I was young and I realized, oh, one day this is gonna happen to me. You know what I mean? Like,
Isn't,
because when you're a little boy, you really
yeah.
don't even think that it will happen to you.
Yeah, because when you're a child, you see the world in a very different way. And
Hmm.
had you not been subjected to some sort of racial action, then you would still think the world is a reasonable place. But I know, talking to many African Americans, that just doesn't happen. I remember talking to a mother from maybe Alabama, and she was talking about what it was like to be an African American mum, and the fear that she felt for her boys. She didn't feel similar fear. She had different fears for her girls, but for her boys, there was a constant fear that they would be attacked, that they would be vilified, that the police would pick them up. And she said her boys were good boys. They never did anything wrong. They were good to their parents. They were good to their greater family. They went to school. They did well in sports. They did nothing wrong. But she said her constant fear was that they would be picked up because of the colour of their skin. And I actually remember, as a mum, that horrible feeling in the pit of my soul, going, oh my God, I am so lucky that I've never experienced that. And it wasn't real for me until she opened up and said this was the fear for her sons. And they were good boys. They never did anything wrong, but they were still picked up. One of her sons, if I remember correctly, was just walking home after a shift at the place where he worked, and was picked up and roughed up by a couple of local white cops. And she said to me, he was just walking home from work. And I remember thinking at that time, this is not okay, David. This is never okay. You should never be just picked on because of the color of your skin. And I'm not sure that we know, it has to change, but it has to
Hmm.
change from a groundswell level inside of police academies, inside of judicial and court systems, doesn't it? Like, it's just not okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of blame to go around, like you were just pointing out. I think people do also have to look at themselves in the mirror and say, why am I holding on to the
Yes.
old America way from years and years before? There's really no
Yeah.
reason to hold on to that.
No, because the diversity within your particular African American, there are amazing people within that group. I mean,
Hmm.
doing amazing things. And I guess that's one of the reasons why I was like so excited to talk to you today, because we just don't hear from enough African American male, in particular, authors. And I think it's amazing that you are writing and you are doing your music. And so I guess that leads us back to your latest book, which is called The Man Who Hated Halloween. Now, David, tell me about the book.
The book, The Man Who Hated Halloween, I actually have three comedy characters. I call them the new three stars, and they're in a lot of my
Yes.
short stories that I haven't gotten published yet. But I wanted
Yes.
to do a horror theme, even though they're my funny comedian go-tos. I wanted to do a horror
Yeah.
theme episode or story, whatever you want to call it. So that's when I wrote The Man Who Hated Halloween, and takes place on Halloween in
Yeah.
1991. The
Uh-huh.
kids go trick-or-treating. They get tricked to go inside a house, and they get captured by a crazy scientist who sends them to a parallel world where monsters exist.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So that's a fantastic story. So the scientist is the one who hated Halloween.
Yes. And he
Uh-huh.
sends all the
And so,
kids in the neighborhood to the world where monsters exist.
wow, what a story. So, and that all came from your creative imagination, David.
Yes.
And do you, when you're writing, do your stories come to you in a series of thoughts, or how does that happen in your brain? Do you start with
Sometimes.
a central story or theme and then just expand on it, or does it appear? So when my imagination works, I see it in pictures, like I see scenes and the rest of it. What about for you?
Yeah, a lot of times I'll see scenes, and sometimes I'll hear like the dialogue in my head. A lot of my stories are a lot of dialogue driven. Like I almost feel like in some of my stories, you're reading the story through my characters. Like the characters are almost telling a story. I've tried to get better as I've written more stories at being more descriptive. But then
Yes.
sometimes you don't want to get too descriptive, because then it kind of takes away from what's going on in a book if you try to explain every
Yes.
single detail. So I've
Yes.
been trying to find balance with the more I write, but I do always have a lot of dialogue. And sometimes I hear the dialogue, I'll hear like a whole conversation, or I'm like you, I'll see certain things, and then I just write it down.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Um, so what is it about Halloween? Because you might realize in Australia, whilst the concept is catching on, it's not something that I grew up celebrating. Um, Now across Australia, there's lots more celebrations, but for
Mhm.
you guys in the US, it's kind of a tradition for you, isn't it?
Yes, I grew up on it. It's actually funny. One of the characters in my story, his name is Tim, and I actually used to go trick or
Yes.
treating with another guy named Tim when we were little. I still keep in contact with him to this day. But
Yeah.
we met in kindergarten. We used to go trick or treating like almost every year when we were little. His dad
Yes.
used to take us. We used to go. So I definitely grew up on it, going trick or treating. So it kind of writing the story kind of took me back to. I mean, we never got kidnapped and sent
To
to a
you,
parallel world, obviously, but
Thank God for that.
Yeah. But it kind of took me back to going trick-or-treating, being young and knocking on the houses, getting a chance to
Yeah.
dress up and everything.
I'm so glad that your dad went with you, because that would be, as a mum, again, that would be my concern, is kids going trick-or-treating and knocking on doors of strangers you don't know without an adult present with them. You're still here and you're still safe. Did you ever feel unsafe?
No, we went with my friend's dad when we were really young. It wasn't until I think maybe junior high or high school where I just went with my friends. But it wasn't until when I was really little, I was always with somebody.
Good. I bet it was fun as teenagers to do Halloween.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was really fun as teenagers to do it. It was different. It was just, we could just pick where we wanted to go, and we didn't have any cars back then, but we were just still walking together. We could cross the street here if we wanted to go to another neighborhood and go here. So it was really fun. Yeah.
And is everyone generally receptive at that time? Like, people aren't nasty or anything. They just go, here you go, here's your candy or whatever, and they're all reasonably good to you guys, yeah?
Yeah, everybody's pretty nice. They would always say if the house doesn't have the lights on, that means don't go there. If the lights are on, they're celebrating Halloween. They'll give you candy. So that was always the rule we heard.
Yeah. And so this scenario that you created in The Man Who Hated Halloween, do you tell the readers why the man hated Halloween?
Yes. It takes a long time. I think you have to get all the way to the end.
Way through?
To really find out everything.
Fantastic. So I'm guessing that it sounds like it would make a really good movie. And the reason I say that is we've just been watching Lock and Key on Netflix, I think. And as you're talking about The Man Who Hated Halloween, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, wouldn't that make a good movie, David?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I usually, when I write a lot of my novels, sometimes I can hear the music, what I want to be for the soundtrack. And I do that a lot with the novels. With the short stories I write, not as much. With the novels, I always think about if they were, a movie.
Yeah. Have you ever done any screenwriting, so the screenplay of your books?
No, I did do a contest one time for, I can't remember if it was CBS or ABC, where they want you to write out like a short story for like a pilot for a television show or something like that. I did do that one time.
Uh-huh. Well done. What are some of the things that inspire you to write?
Well, I know.
Is it everyday life?
Yeah, as far as my music, it's more everyday life as far as my music is concerned. For the stories, it's different because a lot, I usually do a lot of fiction, so it doesn't have to necessarily be about something that happened. It can be, I might see a movie or something on TV and I say, I kind of want to do something like that, but I kind of want to do my own characters.
Yes. Fantastic. How much fun do you have creating the personalities of the characters in your books?
I have fun with it, but I will admit sometimes I do cheat. A lot of the characters in my stories are based off of friends, are real people I've known in the past.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes it a little bit easier. That's why I say I kind of cheat. But it makes it a little easier because I know their personalities and
and it makes it easier
in situations where obviously some of the people in The Man Who Hated Halloween have never been shipped to a parallel world. So it's like I'm putting their
I know.
personalities in situations that haven't happened to them in real life.
Yeah. So, David, tell me about that parallel universe. What does it look like? Without giving too much of the story away, what makes it special? What makes it different? What makes it scary?
Well, what makes it scary is it's nothing like they've seen on their world. They don't know where the other humans on that world are. They see zombies as
Ah.
soon as they get there, which isn't a good thing. Zombies are
Oh,
never
no.
good.
Zombies are never good. So, David,
And they
are
don't.
they the fast? Are they the fast, zippy zombies or the
Yeah, they're the fast
slow?
zombies. They're the fast zombies,
No,
which is worse. So they
no.
they're like, well, in the movies the zombies are slow, so they assume
Yeah.
they're gonna be slow, but these are a little faster,
Oh
and they don't
no,
really
that's
know
not good.
who they can trust when they do meet people. They're not sure.
Ah, it sounds like a fantastic story, and to have it created around Halloween. So we'll be this interview will be released right around Halloween so that we can capture people's interest in the man who hated Halloween. Um, what else keeps you busy besides writing and music? Obviously, that keeps you really busy. What else do you like, David?
I also like writing sports articles. I do that a lot. I'm a big
Ah,
NBA
yes.
fan, so I write a lot of NBA articles. And at the end of the year, I always have on my Instagram page, on my Facebook page, I have like an end of the year report where I have like different awards for NBA players. I've been doing that since I think 2000, so I do that every year.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That's very cool. And for listeners, all of David's connections will appear below this interview so that you can connect with David on Instagram, Facebook, or email him. David, your music that you've been doing for a while, you said was mostly hip hop. Where can people find your music?
That's also on my YouTube channel.
Oh,
Skill
cool. Okay.
Records, Skilla Records. I also use that page for. I have a few sports things, but it's mainly music
Yes,
and then
mainly
audio
your
books. I
music.
have my audio books, not the whole audio book, but like
Oh,
the first two chapters of The Man Who Hated
yes.
Halloween and the first two
Oh, well
chapters of my
done.
first book. So
Do you narrate your audio books yourself, David?
yes, I narrate my audio books myself.
Yes.
I'm looking to do that for my next book too.
Oh, tell me about the next book.
The next book, I can't give you too much of a preview because it's a
Yeah, no.
sequel to The Man Who Hated
Yes.
Halloween. So
Awesome. So, The Man Who Hated Halloween will be the first one, and then you'll have a sequel to that. Will there be
yes,
another one in the series? So, you're going to keep writing, do you think?
yeah, I actually wrote Return to the Nightmare World. That's the name of the sequel. I wrote that
Yes, yes.
I think 2 years after The Man Who Hated Halloween. Then I wrote another sequel after that. So it's 3 books complete from the series.
Oh, fantastic. So, really, they could either make a Netflix series or a movie from all of those books, couldn't they?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hey, that's awesome. David, so you're writing your music, and it's not just your books, you do your sports pages as well. That's a lot to fit into an average working week. What do you do for fun?
Uh, Before COVID, I
Or
used to
is
like to
there
go to the
no
movie theater.
time?
I used to love going to the
Yes.
movie theater. Before COVID, I would
Yes.
like going to the movie theater. Uh, that was like the main thing I really like to do, going to the movie theater
Yes.
with friends and then hanging out with friends too. Some friends I still
Yes.
hang out with, some I haven't seen in a while, but
Yeah.
definitely the movie theater was my thing. I would go with multiple people. I'd have one movie friend I would go to certain movies with, another movie friend I would go to with certain movies. So but I'm definitely looking forward to going back to the movie theater. I actually talked with one of my friends recently.
Yes.
She was saying, yeah, I haven't been since COVID. So
Yeah. Tell me about what COVID's been like for you. I'm guessing it has offered you the opportunity to do more writing and music production, but what's it been like for you? What's it like in Chicago in terms of COVID?
it was crazy when it all
Yeah.
first started. Just no one was used to wearing the mask. And then I did finally find some balance, and like you said, I was able to write a book in 2020. I was also able to
Yeah.
write a comic book after that. Not the pictures. I was just doing the writing. I'll get somebody at a later date to do the artwork, because it relates to The Man Who Hated Halloween. So I have to put out
Yeah.
those sequels and everything before I can even put out the comic book. It would, it would
Yes.
spoil everything that was going to happen in those books.
Yeah.
So, but I was able
I
to
was going to
take
ask
advantage and do a lot of writing.
Yeah, David, I was going to ask about the concept of comics, because I can actually envision your comic books in my head now that you've talked about the whole conversation bubble. You've got a friend or someone who does your artwork for you, don't you? And they do that for your music as well?
Yes, Edwin, the artist. I wish I should have given you his link too, but Edwin, the artist, is like
That's okay.
THA artist, but he's a very good. I've been knowing him since I was little too. He's a great artist. He's done
Yeah.
my album covers. He did the first two books. So yeah, he's
So
great.
he did the
He's
book
one of the
covers for
best.
you?
Yes.
Because it's a great
He
book cover, isn't it?
yes. And the thing about him, like, I didn't even tell him how I want the cover. He just visualized it
New.
after hearing the whole book. He visualized it, and he came up
Yeah.
with the best cover for both books.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. It's good that you have someone that can bring to life what you see in your head, particularly around artwork. And I'm guessing that it wouldn't be trouble for him at all to help you to produce those comic books once the series of books is done.
Yes, I'm sure he could do it. I mean, he's never done a comic
Yeah.
book before, but he's excellent at doing everything else. So I'm pretty sure he could do that too.
Oh, that's pretty exciting, though. That's something to look forward to. Besides the series that you're working on now, do you have any more books floating around in that magnificent brain of yours?
Well, I guess yes and no. I've written so much recently over the
Yes.
past few years, but the only one I got published out of the new ones I wrote was A Man Who Hated Halloween. So
Yeah.
I have more things I do want to write probably next
Yes.
year as far as
Yeah.
books. I used to write these stories when I was little about me and my friends being superheroes. They were called
Yes.
the Edwards Club,
Yes.
and that's how I got the publishing
Yeah.
company name EC Publishing, from short for Edwards Club.
Yes.
And recently
Yes.
I've been rewriting some of those old stories. So it's kind of funny
Yeah.
rewriting stories about me and my friends when we were little, since all of us are grown now. But I've been
Yeah.
rewriting those stories, and I plan on rewriting some more of those stories, and new stories about us as little kids being heroes too would be fun.
Yeah. David, if you could, those stories that you've got of those wonderful childhood memories, they would make amazing children's books. I'm not sure that there's many, I mean, there's lots of children's authors, but you're quite unique in your outlook. And children need to have lots of different perspectives. So
Hmm.
children's books might be something that would interest you in the future.
Yeah, I actually wrote like a pilot. I keep acting like everything's already a show. A pilot episode for a children's kind of like a show,
Yeah.
Justice.
Yeah.
But for some reason,
Yeah.
after I wrote like the pilot episode and I set up everything, I never went back, to it to write more short stories. But it was about a little
Yes.
girl, so right away people would
Yes.
be drawn to it. It was
Yes.
actually about a queen who does something bad, well, a princess who does something
Yes.
bad, and her parents banish her and make her an 8-year-old little girl again. And they send her to a whole new world. So she has to start over. She was kind of spoiled, so they want to teach her a lesson to make her value everything and make sure she's ready to be a queen when it's her time. So they felt like, hey, we need to send you here. And I wrote the pilot, but I never went back to it to write the other. But I know that's more of a children's book, because the comedy was more geared towards children and everything that was going on. So
well, there's life takes you where it's going to take you, and you never know how that could transpire. I could envision a children's series with your writing and your music. That would be a wonderful contribution to the world.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
David, before we run out of time, I want to tell the audience how people can connect with you, either about your books or your music. How do they do that?
I'm on Instagram. That's David.Wittaker.100, and that's Wittaker with 2 T's. I'm also on Facebook, Eddie Dynamite Wittaker, and that's Eddie with an EDDY. And then Dynamite Wittaker, 2 T's again. And you can get my books everywhere. Lulu.com.
I was just going to say
Walmart.com.
I was just going to say
Amazon.
They're everywhere. So anywhere where you get your books, you'll be able to get The Man Who Hated Halloween. Amazon, Lulu, all over the place, anywhere that you buy your books. And David, the book has been released in audiobook as well, so they can get it and listen to it?
No, you'd have to contact me directly.
Okay, cool.
Get the audiobook.
Fantastic.
I wouldn't mind, if anybody wants to just contact me on either site, I'll definitely contact you back.
Fantastic. David Wittaker, we are just about out of time. I really want to thank you for coming on the show today and being so open to talking about your life, your books, and your music. For the audience, The Man Who Hated Halloween is out now. I want you to make sure you go and grab a copy and have it ready to read over the Halloween break. And that, my friends, is your lot for this week.